What is up everyone, and welcome to the 2016 version of all of my Macs and their uses, because I can't think of a better title than that. So, last year or the year before or sometime not too long ago, I did a video called All of My Macs and Their Uses to basically clarify all of the machines that I currently own and what I use them for, and the specifications and my plans and stuff. Just going around all my Macs so that everyone knows what I've got, because I was having a massive problem. People were asking me questions in regards to machines that I'd sold even 3 or 4 years beforehand. So this kind of brings the relevance up a little bit, and I'm doing an update because things have changed and I've had a couple of requests to do so. So strap in, we're going to go around all of my Macs, and this video is simply here to show you what I've still got, because I don't always mention when I sell things or buy things or whatever. So yeah, enjoy the tour around all of the crazy systems that I own. So first up is definitely a machine that a lot of people would debate should be in this video or not. This is what looks to be a Mac G4 Quicksilver from the outside, but it is actually my Hackintosh. So if you haven't seen the Hackintosh series, for whatever reason, just go back and watch it, because it was such a fun series of videos to make, and this is truly a unique, very, very cool machine. So this is rocking an i7-4770, 32 gigs of RAM, 2 Samsung 850 Pro SSDs, a GTX 960 2GB GPU, a Seasonic 1000 watt PSU, and all sorts of other little goodies in that case. It's a very, very nice system, and it's my main system. It's also got an all-in-one liquid cooler that I managed to squeeze in there, so the system is very quiet, even though there's restricted airflow in this case. So I've had my ups and downs with this system since I built it, but at this particular moment in time, it is very, very awesome. So I am in a good relationship with this system at the moment, as you guys may have been able to tell from my recent videos. But there we have it. That will be my main machine for a very long time, as long as stability stays as good as it is now. I'm pretty happy with it. It's a very, very nice build. I'm also proud of it. I think it went really well. So that's my main desktop that I use for absolutely everything at the moment. Now, I'm not going to go over all of the accessories for every system, but I just thought I'd show you guys the setup very quickly that the Hackintosh is hooked up to. I'm not going to mention anything in great detail about it, but you should be able to see as I pan around here all of the gear that the Hackintosh is hooked up to. So triple monitors, nice few accessories, and I run everything pretty much externally these days. Check out my recent Hackintosh update videos if you haven't seen them, because the whole external thing is very, very handy. I don't lose my progress in terms of video editing or anything when the system goes down, because I now edit on external flash. So that's been definitely a fantastic step in the right direction. And also, now that I've unplugged the internal hard drives of the system, it's actually reduced the heat slightly, which is great. So that's it for the Hackintosh. That is system number 1. So here's system number 2. This is my Retina MacBook Pro. Definitely one of the best purchases I've made in a long time. I decided to buy this from the Apple refurbished store, which is the closest I've ever got to buying a brand new Mac, and it was so worth it. I currently have Apple Care on this thing, and for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm a true Mac owner, because if something went wrong with this, I could just take it to Cardiff and they would fix it for me and I'd bring it back. And this is my new, modern, fully legit, very capable Mac that I have a tremendous time using. As you guys know, when the Hackintosh was giving me issues, I had this connected to my main setup and used it as my main machine for the longest time, and it was fantastic. It didn't falter. The specs on this one, it's a late 2013 Retina MacBook Pro, 15-inch. It's the 2 GHz quad-core i7 model with 8 GB of RAM. That's the only slight downside. Not that RAM is an issue at the moment, but I could see it becoming an issue in the future. I wish I had 16, but the price difference was incredibly, you know, it was just colossal between the 8 gig and the 16 gig, because I couldn't find a 16 gig model at the time that didn't come with a faster processor. So yeah, I basically could only afford this one, but I'm still very happy with it. It's got the Intel Iris Pro graphics and 256 gigs of PCIe attached flash storage. It is an absolute beast and I love it. When Apple Care runs out, I'm tempted to sell this on eBay and go through the whole process again. So get whatever the latest MacBook Pro is out with the refurb store, then get Apple Care again. I've just felt very comfortable with that process, especially after having a little bit of bad luck with tech lately. So that's my 15-inch MacBook Pro, and that's it for my main desktop and my main laptop. Unlike before, definitely in the past where I've used multiple Macs for multiple things, these are the only two Macs that I actively use on a daily basis. Apart from the server setup, but that's a different kettle of fish altogether that we'll move on to in a minute. But yeah, these are the only two Macs that I use on a daily basis, and they do me absolutely magnificently. So I've got low battery, I'm going to close the lid. That's my Retina MacBook Pro. So this is the first close look that you guys have got of my server shelf for quite some time now, and as you can see, organisation has definitely gone down the pan. The reason that organisation is all over the place is because I've been chopping and changing this quite frequently, and also I've needed access to bits of kit and I've needed access to certain cables, and it's just got all jumbled up. But we're down here because we want to take a look at Mac number 3. Mac number 3 is right here. It's on its side at the moment so I can get to the connections, but this is a Mac Mini mid-2007. I believe it's the first Core 2 Duo Mac Mini. It's a 1.83 GHz Core 2 Duo, so that's obviously a dual core. It's got in it at the moment a 500 gigabyte internal hard drive, but I would like to change that for an SSD. It can be a really small 60 gig SSD, it doesn't make a difference. I'd like to do that before I implement this into the new server setup in the new office. It's got 2 gigs of RAM, I upgraded it from 1 gig to 2 gig, and of course it's got the integrated GMA 950 graphics or whatever they have. I use that as basically a file server from time to time. With this particular RAID box that's powered down at the moment, I power it down to record majority of my videos, so that's a pain in the bum. I do need to do some work on this RAID setup, but it won't be my main file server very shortly, because I'll be building a FreeNAS box as soon as I move. I've got the funds waiting. And then this will probably be used as mainly an upload server and also a print server. So when I say upload server, I mean that this is my YouTube slave. This is on 24 hours a day, and as you guys know, I've got a rubbish internet connection. So I actually pump out videos I'm pretty much always uploading overnight. So this is what slogs away uploading one video that takes anywhere between 8 and 16 hours these days, especially with the length of my videos. So that's Mac number 3, powered on 24 hours a day. Back there amongst the cable mess, you can just about see Mac number 4. That is a Mac Mini G4. I believe it's a 1.42 gigahertz model with, I want to say 1 gig of RAM and a 80 gig hard drive. Really not too sure on the specs of that one anymore, folks. Unfortunately, that Mac Mini is a little bit ill, as you guys know. It hasn't been right from day one. It's got some strange quirks about it, and it overheats after being powered on for more than about a day. Or I'm not sure if it overheats, it just cuts out. I did open it up and it was very clean inside, as you guys know. I can't see any reason for it to be overheating, but I don't have a use for it anyway, especially with my new server plans with the FreeNAS box and stuff. I will not need to be using this Mac Mini G4 for server tasks, so hopefully I'll find another use for it. I've got something maybe up my sleeve in the future as a use for it, but we shall see. I'm going to be keeping that Mac anyway because I do really seriously like the Mac Mini G4. I've always wanted one, and when I finally got donated one, I thought that was absolutely fantastic. When I say finally donated, I don't mean I was waiting for a donation for ages. I simply mean that I've wanted one, so I finally got one, and it was a very generous donation, so that's fantastic. So that's Mac number 4, sitting there doing not a lot at the moment, but it's still plugged in and I can power it up if I want to. So I'm really sorry about the mess, but here we have Mac number 5. Now this is a Mac that's got a special place in my heart. I never had an interest in these PowerBook G3s, never ever. I always thought they looked cool, but I only bought this, I bought it years ago now, 2010, 2011, something like that. I only bought this because it came with an ADB keyboard, and I wanted an ADB keyboard and mouse to sell with my Hackintosh SE. I wanted to sell it on eBay and make a profit, and I didn't have a keyboard and mouse. And then, as soon as I got the G3, I fell in love with it, and as you guys know, I've done countless videos on this machine. So this is a 400 MHz PowerPC G3 blue and white. It's a PowerMac tower from around 1998, 1999, just before the G4 grey towers came out. It has a whopping 1 GB of RAM, that's maxed out, so that's 4 256 meg sticks. It currently has a Radeon 9200 128 megabyte video card in it, which is the biggest video card you can actually put in it, and it really does give a huge boost. I'm so happy with that video card. It still blows my mind to this day, and a lot of people actually took the mick out of me for getting having such a positive reaction to that video card. But you know, this is an ancient G3. This is almost 20 years old now. It's coming very close to being 20 years old, and the G3 architecture is definitely 20 years old. So yeah, very impressed with this machine. Another cool thing, it's got a SATA PCI card in it, so I can put SATA drives and SSDs in here. At the moment, it's got a 20 gigabyte IDE drive running OS 9. It also has a 80 gigabyte SATA drive on it as a storage drive, but I did poach the SSD from this to put in my ThinkPad, which I never got around to making a video about, but I do need to do a RAM upgrade to my IBM ThinkPad, or my Lenovo ThinkPad rather, the R61, so I'll mention the SSD in that video. But I would like to revisit this year. I still want to put another SSD in this because it was blazing, but I am waiting. I want to find the processor upgrade. I'm still begging you guys to help me find a processor upgrade. I want the 1 gigahertz G3. I'm not interested in putting a compatible G4 chip in this. I want to keep it G3. I want the PowerLogix PowerForce ZIF 1 gigahertz G3 CPU. I will pay good money for it. I really, really will. And they were in stock brand new up until about 2014. I should have ordered one while I was in the middle of upgrading this, but I just didn't. I didn't have the funds. I should have got the funds from somewhere. But yeah, that's my G3. I absolutely love it. I'm gutted that it's crammed in over here in the corner, but in the new office, hopefully it'll find pride and place. Mac number 5 is this lovely little PowerBook G4 12-inch. As you guys know, the PowerBook G4 has a very special place in my heart. I carried a 15-inch one around for a very long time on my back every single day. Throughout school, I used it as my school laptop, and because of my visual impairment and stuff, I did all of my schoolwork on a computer before the time that it was acceptable to do so. So I did all of my schoolwork on a PowerBook G4, and I will never forget the satisfaction of owning that Mac. I don't think I've ever been as satisfied owning a Mac as I have the PowerBook G4 15-inch. So, being an owner of the 15-inch and being very, very passionate about Macs, and especially PowerPC Macs, I always wanted a 12-inch. And someone was kind enough to donate this to me, the 12-inch PowerBook, so search my channel to see the original video. Unfortunately, I've never made a follow-up video about it. This PowerBook does have a couple of quirks. It's got some weird keyboard issues going on, which makes it quite difficult to use, and also the internal battery is dead. I've never really looked into sorting out those issues, but it's going to live on a shelf in my new office and hopefully have pride and place on display, but I would like to get it fully operational. It does work, don't get me wrong, it does definitely work, and I have done a few things on it. It's running Leopard, and specs wise, apologies, it's obviously the 12-inch model. It's an 800 megahertz, so it's the entry-level 12-inch model. I believe at the moment it's got 512 megs of RAM, or maybe 768 meg, I'm not too sure. It's got, you know, a 40 or a 60 or an 80 gig drive, that type of thing. It's just, you know, basic 12-inch PowerBook stuff. Maybe one day I would love to get my hands on the top of the line model and really, really play about with them and see what they can do. But it's so lovely owning a PowerBook G4, and I still stand by this fact, folks. The keyboards on these and the 15-inch ones, any PowerBook G4 aluminium keyboard and the original MacBook Pro design, my favourite keyboards on a notebook of all time by an absolute mile. So there's Mac number 6. So here is Mac number 7, and a Mac that a few of you have probably forgot that I even owned. I got this for free, and it was a very unusual thing to get for free because you just really don't see this kind of thing floating around in this country. This is a PowerBook G4. This is a pre-bronze keyboard model. I can't remember what you call this model off the top of my head. I'm sorry, guys. You know, I've just had a very busy time over the last year or so, and retaining the information of my Mac collection is a little difficult. I'm not sure on the specs, I'm not sure of anything, but I can tell you that it's pre when these had USB, I believe. This doesn't have USB. It's not modern in any kind of way. And yeah, it's a PowerBook G3. I have no idea what I'm going to do with it. I am quite interested in revisiting it, and I know I've had a lot of requests. There are people that really, really like these laptops, but for me, it doesn't really have a special place in my heart. I think it's a cool laptop, but it's a little bit just too before my time. You know, arguably the G3 is as well, but I just fell in love with that system. When I say G3, I mean the blue and white. But yeah, this doesn't really, I don't have a bond with this system yet, but I will definitely revisit it. I've got a charger, I've got some Wi-Fi cards as well that were donated, and I think it could be quite a little beast if I upgrade the RAM and stuff, and we can see what we can do on it in terms of some old gaming or something. But yeah, as always, if you've got any requests and you want to, you know, ask me to do something with a system or whatever, just feel free to fire it down into the comment section and let me know. So this is Mac number 7, which is crazy, and that's it for the Macs that I currently have stored up in my down here in my bedroom. If we go upstairs to my studio, I don't really use it as a studio anymore because I'm in the process of moving and packing all my stuff. I'm basically using it as a storage dumping ground, so I do have a few machines stored up there. Let's go up and take a look. So apologies for the wind noise up here, folks. It's very windy outside and I'm in the roof at the moment, and it might be a bit tricky to get a good view of some of these machines because, you know, it's basically a storage dumping ground up here, like I said. But this is my iMac G3 Flower Power. Now, I decided to pay a whack of money for this on eBay and get a Flower Power because I've always wanted something this cool, and I wanted something with the Rage 128 Ultra graphics chip in it. However, it was badly damaged on arrival, but luckily I had all of my large sum of money refunded. So it is damaged, but it does work, but there is some considerable damage to the casing of the machine. If you haven't seen it, then go back and check out the video. Just search on my channel. But this is a future project. My dad is very good with this sort of thing. He's just very good at this kind of thing, like I said. So he's going to help me hopefully replicate some of the original plastic that got totally crushed and damaged. We're going to see what we can do in terms of rebuilding the casing to the best of our abilities, and also straightening the CRT in a safe environment outside in the garage. So that is a project that we'll probably do this summer, to be perfectly honest, or any time that he's got free time, but definitely not something that I want to dig out in the winter. So this is a waiting project. You will see it in the future. I still own the Flower Power. I'm not going to sell it, but yeah, it's just waiting for some attention. Specs wise, it's a 600 megahertz iMac G3. It's the second fastest iMac G3 of all time. They did make 700 megahertz models, but they're pretty much impossible to find, and there's not much of a difference between the two. They're identical in every other way, and it was the top of the line graphics chip that I was really after anyway. So yeah, I'm really pleased to own a pretty much top of the line iMac G3. Over here we got another G4 tower, but this one is simply that. It is a G4 Quicksilver tower. Now, I did get 2 or 3 Quicksilvers in when I was building my PowerHack G4, just because I wanted to get the best condition case. I bought this system for, I don't know, I got them all really cheap. I bought this one and I pretty much used nothing from it apart from the front power LED and power button board. So I'm waiting to find a good cheap deal on eBay to replace that. As you can see, the casing is off there. I'll put the power board back and then I'll clean up the case, put a fresh hard drive in here with a fresh OS and sell this. I sold another complete Quicksilver from that project. I did have another Quicksilver up here, but that got sold before Christmas. So this one is waiting to be sold. Hopefully I'll get this out of the way before I move, but it's just waiting for one of those to turn up at a decent price on eBay. So this is a single 800 megahertz Quicksilver, nothing special about it at all. Now over here is definitely something very special to me, but something that gives me sadness every time I see it. And honestly, something that I really don't know what to say. So I'm going to struggle with this clip, folks. But this is my PowerBook G4 MDD. It's not to be confused with the original MDD that I got on the channel, the one that I actually used as my main machine back in the day. That was a dual 1 gigahertz model that I sold to James in order to help fund my upgrade to a PowerBook G5. It's also not the dual 1.25 gigahertz model that I acquired, that I replaced the PSU on and then used as a studio Mac for a very short while. It's not that one either. This is the one that I got, which is the balls to the wall dual 1.42 gigahertz model. This one is a beauty. This one is a Firewire 800 MDD. It's got the quiet cooling system in it, so the quiet option, 120mm fan and the PSU fan, so it's nice and quiet. It's the dual 1.42, so it was a beast already. It came with two 250 gig hard drives and a RAID controller, but I did so much to this, folks, so brace yourselves. This has got a maxed out 2 gigabytes of RAM. It's also got an ATI Radeon X800 XT 256 megabyte graphics card, which is the fastest graphics card that you can put in here. It's also got a USB 2.0 card. It's got a SATA card with an SSD. Unfortunately, there's no SSD in here at the moment. I poached that for my gaming PC or whatever I poached it for. I'm getting confused with all these SSDs floating around. I have no idea. But unfortunately, it currently doesn't have an SSD card, but it still has a SATA card. Sorry, it doesn't have an SSD, but it still has a SATA card, so it's very easy to add in the future. Another one. Same goes for the hard drive. I used to have a 2 terabyte black in here, but that's no longer in here. It's being used for something else, but again, I can easily put one in. And am I forgetting something? No, that's pretty much it. This thing is balls to the walls. I absolutely love it. But why did I mention the whole being sad every time I look at it thing? It's because this was the PowerPC promise baby, if you like. This was the machine that started me off with the PowerPC promise. Just a real quick synopsis of what happened and what's happened over the last 4 years. I made a video about using the usability of PowerPC Macs at a time where PowerPC Macs was still fairly usable. I then got a lot of hate, but a lot of excellent feedback for that. So I decided to get my hands on a machine and see how much it would cost to fully upgrade it. So I chose to use this G4 because I thought it was the best bang for the buck at the time. Because G5s were still commanding quite a bit of money back then. And I upgraded this, and my intention was to use this for a week solid and see the pros and cons and make a video series about it. Unfortunately, I never got around to doing it because it took so long to upgrade the machine because I had so many issues here, there and everywhere. But when I did finally get the machine up and running, a load of other life circumstances took over, a load of things changed. It was at a changing point in my life where I was just really going through so much and the channel was very, very quiet. So unfortunately, I never did complete the PowerPC promise, and a lot of people have told me to do it afterwards, but the problem with that was the relevance went down. By the time I was back on the YouTube bandwagon, the relevance of PowerPC Macs had plummeted into you know, near uselessness for a main machine. So the whole original point of the PowerPC promise no longer existed. Now, yes, there is some dead archive footage of this on my hard drive. In fact, I've got a good, well over an hour's worth of footage, a good few gigabytes worth of footage that I recorded about this. But maybe I'll release it one day, but doubtful, guys. It's cack, it really, really is. People have begged me to release it, and I know I'm teasing by talking about the PowerPC promise, but unfortunately, that's a project that's dead in the water, something that I was too ambitious about, and I just couldn't keep up with myself, to be honest. My ideas were flowing faster than my actions. But there we go, and that's it. What am I going to do with the G4? Absolutely no idea. It gets very hot, it consumes a lot of power, and it's not temperamental, but it's cramming a lot of hardware into that case, and really, really stretching the G4 to its limits there with the hardware that it's supporting. So it's not a machine that I'd really want to use for anything, but it definitely is a special machine that I'll never be parting with. This is my iMac G3, an iMac G3 that I've had for the past 5 or 6 years. Not to be confused with a video that I released very close to the beginning of this channel called iMac G3 Please Help Me. That was a different G3 that never worked, and I sold that on eBay. But I found them both at a car boot sale. I found this one at a car boot sale, and it came with my iSight camera, the iSight camera that I used up until very recently for everything, really, live streaming and all sorts of things. It came with some software discs and all sorts of fun stuff, and a keyboard and stuff. And this iMac works perfectly. I've used it in videos very recently, so feel free to go back and check those out. It's running both OS 9 and OS 10, I believe, or is it running just OS 9 at the moment? Can't remember. Anyway, it's a graphite 500 megahertz model. Can't remember any other specs off the top of my head. Like I say, it's very hard remembering the specs of all these machines. I don't know whether I'm going to keep that when I get the flower power up and running, because it is definitely one of the most boring colours. I would like to have a bright orange or a bright green one or something, but yeah, it's a nice machine and it isn't going anywhere for now. So this little PowerPC Mac graveyard up here, apart from the Quicksilver that I showed you a few minutes ago, yeah, it's pretty much all staying, so that's good. So how could I forget about this? I almost forgot, guys. This is my 12th machine. This is my early 2008 MacBook Pro, 2.4 GHz Core 2 Duo, 2 gigs of RAM, 250 gig hard drive, and the dreaded NVIDIA GeForce 8600 MGT with 256 megs of VRAM. It's not the 512 meg model. This is a 15-inch machine, of course. It's got the iSight webcam. This thing is gorgeous. I'm not going to sell it. I've tried, I've had offers, everything. I can't bring myself to part with it. Even though I didn't use this machine as my main portable for a very long time, it was about a year I used it as my main portable. It still has a very special place in my heart. I have no idea why. I think it's because it has it pretty much looks like my old PowerBook, and I wish I never sold my old PowerBook, guys. I sold it to an absolute plonker as well, so I'm gutted about that. But yeah, I think it's because it has echoes of the PowerBook, and it just is so special. I love the displays on these as well, guys. The displays are stunning. The color temperature is really nice. Last MacBook Pro with this design before the unibody. It definitely is a special machine. For nearly 10 years old, it still rocks. If I stuck an SSD in this, and yeah, if I didn't have the GPU issues, then this would be great. But I don't use it. It sits up here and rots just like loads of other stuff, but still, I'm gonna keep it. I like the machine. So that is it. Ending this video on an extremely positive note, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed. These are my 12 Macs that I currently own. Any other Macs that you have seen in the past and you don't see here have been sold. Macs of note definitely include the Mac G5 single 1.8 that I sold to Will recently, and of course my beloved Mac Pro 2008 that I owned for many years that I've recently sold as well. So yeah, that is it, folks. Thank you very much for watching. Keep your eyes peeled for another update, probably around this time next year, as my Mac scenario changes. And as always, I will see you in my next video.